We interrupt Shaggy to bring you that Groovy Scoobcast, your go-to audio hub for all things Scooby-Doo. Derek Queen has escaped from the county prison. He was convicted of bank robbery, burglary, and backwards driving.
Don't forget puppy napping Pipsqueak. So it's probably been many years since you've seen a Pup Named Scooby-Doo. What did you think of it coming back to it years later, Shannon?
Well, so we talked about this last week where it was something we grew up watching.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I feel like I liked it more as a kid. I did like this episode, but I feel like as a kid it was like, this was my show.
Right. Well, thank you guys for coming back to that Groovy Scoobcast. This week we're talking about The Babysitter from Beyond, which is episode 6 of the first season of A Pup Named Scooby-Doo. Like we said last week, this is a cartoon that was actually like on TV when we were kids. So we definitely had to take like the nostalgia glasses off and look at this episode a little bit more objectively than we would have liked. I will say at least, I acknowledge the fact that it's supposed to be a really cartoony version of Scooby-Doo, it's supposed to be absurd and...
It was supposed to do all that extra stuff that kids like.
Yeah, things that are impossible, lack of logic and stuff like that. We acknowledge that, but throughout our comments, just understand we're just looking at it very objectively. Before we get started, though, we're going to begin with the Mystery Machine match. How are you feeling about your questions today, Shannon?
I might have a fighting chance.
You say that every week.
I know. But one week it'll happen.
1 week. You're going to get that breakthrough. I'm going to get none, and you're going to get all of them.
That's the only way I can catch up at this point.
Currently, we're starting with me at 16 points and you with 12. So without further ado, Shannon, you can go first.
In the Fricket Fracas, the gang visits Maud Frickett's blank. Ranch or farm?
I think it's a farm.
You'd be right.
Yay! That's from the new Scooby-Doo movies, I think. The Fricket Fracas. Okay, Shannon, here is your first question. Where does Vincent Van Ghoul live? Does he live in a castle or a cave?
A castle.
You are correct. It is a castle. I figured you would get that one.
I was hoping.
We just watched The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo last week, so...
The first thing that popped in my head, though, was the bar, and I was like...
neither!
I was like, but he lived in the bar.
All right, what's next for me?
What was the Scooby-Doo Dynamite Hour renamed when it was expanded to 90 minutes?
Oh, shit, I actually don't know this. Was it something like the Puppy Hour?
No.
No? What was it?
The Scooby-Doo Dynamite Show.
That's so dumb.
That's the one that
so mad.
I was really hoping you weren't going to get that one.
This is the beginning of my downfall. All right, here's your next question. Linda Cardellini, who plays Velma in the Scooby-Doo movie, starred in an NBC drama called Freaks and Blank.
All that's popping into my head is Freaks and Geeks, and I know that's not right.
But it is.
Oh my god!
All right, cool. Well, you got another point. You're coming back.
Woohoo! Here I come.
What's your last question?
In Sandy Duncan's Jekyll and Hyde, what is Sandy trying to do? Make a movie or have a restful vacation?
I think she's just making a movie.
You'd be right.
Yay. All right. Well, here's your last question. I'm so mad at this question.
You're making me nervous.
What color pants does Shaggy wear? Brown or black?
Brown.
You're right.
Guys, I'm coming back.
You're coming back. All right. Wow. Today's mystery match finishes with me with 18 points and you with 15 points.
I'm 3 points behind.
Yay!
If we keep this up, I could actually catch up to you.
So you have 6 episodes before this season's over to catch up. Maybe even get in the lead.
Yeah. Possibly.
Possibly. Well, that was this week's Mystery Machine match. Something we wanted to bring up today in regards to our discussion of the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo from last week. We asked on Twitter, what were your guys' thoughts on the episode? We actually got a few responses that were interesting to Shannon and I, considering we really liked the episode. Konal JT, he responded saying, "It's not a series for me, frowny face. I prefer nearly every episode you've watched prior to this one. Without Fred and Velma, it's just not the same. That's just me. I know a lot of people like the show, but I personally don't revisit it much or at all."
Which is funny because I was talking to a friend of ours and she felt the same exact way.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I agree. I mean, I don't like the fact that Fred and Velma aren't around in these series, but I still stand firm by some of my opinions on some of the episodes we watched before. Another listener, the name is Amalgam Comics, or at Make Mine Amalgam. He responded to Konal JT saying, "Same, the animation is great, but Scooby-Doo to me is the Mystery Inc. gang solving mysteries and the monsters being crooks in costumes, with only a couple of exceptions to this rule, like Zombie Island and the first live-action films." He also made another tweet. I'm not seeing it right at the moment, but he's basically saying, like, they even had an unmasking scene in the Scooby-Doo movie when they unmasked Scrappy, which is a good point. Because fundamentally, yes, Scooby-Doo is about unmasking monsters. But I think series and stories where it doesn't necessarily stick to that formula allows for something different, maybe even, an opportunity for it to be great. I think that Mystery Incorporated really did a good job of, like, merging both into one story where there's a ton of monsters that aren't real, but there is something actually supernatural going on. But I just thought those were some cool comments that we got back from our listeners. We definitely want to hear your thoughts on these episodes we're listening to, guys. So always feel free to tweet us or email us. We always like to hear what you guys have to say. Well, I think it's time to dive into the episode. Like I said before, this week we're taking a look at The Babysitter from Beyond from A Pup Named Scooby-Doo. We're going to give our listeners the premise for this week. Coming from Scoobypedia, the gang takes Shaggy's baby, Sugie, to the babysitter. But the babysitter's house turns out to be the old lair of a master criminal who just escaped jail.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. I just want to say, though, A Pup Named Scooby-Doo's intro is like one of my favorite intro musics.
It's catchy.
I jam to that intro.
Is that your wake up morning alarm?
Yeah. Yep, I'm going to make it that. I'm going to make it my real alarm in the morning.
I know you are, and that's what makes me sad. So my first note on this whole episode was it starts out with Shaggy introducing the episode, or like narrating.
He was narrating, yeah. He was narrating the beginning of the episode.
So that was interesting.
Different. We haven't seen something like that before.
No, we haven't. And so it starts off with a dark and stormy night where anything bad could happen.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Oh.
and there's Christmas decorations up.
Oh, outside their house. That's right.
There's Santa and the reindeer, and then there's the snowman.
Yeah, it's got like a whole display on top of the roof. Like, it's very blatant, too. And the funny thing is, like, it's not winter.
No, not even close.
There's no indication that, like, it's any time near Christmas.
No.
I will say, though, my family has left, like, Christmas lights up year-round. So, I mean, we're lazy, too.
Well, leaving Christmas lights up and leaving an entire display on your roof.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It's different.
I mean, they went to all that effort to put the display on the roof.
That's a lot of effort to take it off, though.
But with it being a scary movie and like a scary time, the holiday that I would think it would be around would be Halloween.
Yeah, that seems appropriate.
So that's 2 months before Christmas.
Yeah.
So that means like it's been like 10 months that this whole thing has been up on the roof.
It's just a lazy family. Would you really expect this from any one of the other members' families?
No, but
it seems appropriate to be Shaggy's.
In this series, his dad's a cop. He just doesn't give a fuck what his house looks like.
So we go into the house, and Scooby is adjusting the antenna on the TV so that they can tune into, I'm assuming, just a commercial for the Boogity Bones movie they want to see.
Which seems like a lot of effort to go to for a commercial.
For a commercial. Yeah, because it doesn't seem like they're tuning into a TV show. It's
No.
just the commercial. In the commercial, they're describing the Boogity Bones movie, and they say that it's too scary to show in Transylvania.
Which is the city that monsters live in.
Yeah, like all the monsters in Scooby-Doo live there.
It's like turning on the news for them. like these monsters can't even turn on the news, but we're going to show it to a couple of human beings.
Kids.
Kids.
Children.
We're gonna
children and a puppy.
Clearly not an R-rated movie.
It says that it will scare your socks off. And Shaggy, who's now hiding underneath the couch in fear, he replies,
I don't wear socks.
And then the commercial responds, well, you better get some.
So breaking the fourth wall.
Well, just breaking reality, honestly. And that won't be the last time we see that in this episode either.
No.
So after that commercial ends, they see the shadow that's shining on the wall. And Shaggy and Scooby, being young, impressionable people, think that it's Boogity Bones. It kind of looks like him, shape-wise.
Yeah.
So they go and hide in one of the coats that's hanging on the coat rack. Turns out it's just his parents and Sugie.
Which, can we talk about how they named their son Norville, but their daughter Sugie?
I mean, I guess if you go with the theory that Sugie and the sister that's appeared in the past, Maggie, is the same person.
I don't think they are, though.
I think this is a different continuity. Like, this is a different timeline.
Yeah.
And the sisters exist in different timelines. So I think that Maggie's not in this universe at all. And likewise, Shugie's not in that one. So, yeah, it is a little confusing. And it's not like it's a nickname necessarily for Sugie, because they call Shaggy by his real name.
Yeah, I mean, they never once call him Shaggy.
Huh. I didn't really think about that, like, while watching the episode.
No.
So, Shaggy is hiding in the coat still, and Shaggy's dad needs the coat because they're going to the policeman's ball tonight.
Yes.
And one of the first things I noticed about his dad was that his voice was really, like, deep and really stern.
It really, like, had a presence.
Yeah. But then a few moments later, like maybe 15 seconds later, it sounds exactly like Casey Kasem voicing him. So you know it's Casey Kasem.
Yeah.
And that makes sense because he voices Shaggy. And if he can just go a little deeper, yeah, he can sound like Shaggy's dad. But what really threw me off is that the first voice, the deeper voice, did not sound like Casey at all.
No, I don't know who that was.
I'm very confident that was either a different voice actor or maybe Casey was trying to go with a very stern and different voice, and maybe like the director was just like, no, you need to make it sound like Shaggy, and then they just never went back and edited it. I don't know.
That's a possibility. I mean, maybe Casey like had to use the bathroom real quick, and so a guy
but they were
like,
having a time crunch,
yeah,
so they're just like, voice that one line.
That guy was like, I'll hop in real quick. But I mean, God bless Casey Kasem. But I want to know how hard he tried to make the characters sound different. Mm-hmm. Because they don't. When Shaggy talks, and then a moment later his dad talks, it sounds like when there's the mistake when, like, Daphne talks but Velma's voice is coming out.
Or vice versa. Yeah.
Like, that's what I thought was happening, but then it just kept happening.
Mm-hmm. But they're going to the policeman's ball, and Shaggy's mom asks Shaggy to take Sugie to the babysitter's house. So Shaggy's like, yeah, I can do that. She's my favorite human in the world. No, she's my favorite person in the world, and Scooby's offended.
Yeah.
And then he had to clarify with Scooby, my favorite human person in the world.
Yeah.
And Scooby's like, yeah. So the movie theater that Shaggy's intending to go see Boogity Bones at with the rest of the gang that night is on the way to the babysitter's house.
Which they come upon the movie theater, and the gang is already buying their tickets. Fuck Shaggy and Scooby. We're buying our tickets. We're going to see this movie.
We don't have time to wait for you.
Regardless on if they make it on time, we're watching this movie tonight.
I mean, to be fair, I would probably do that to you.
You probably wouldn't. That's why that's probably why I was personally offended when it started happening.
So they stop at the movie theater to talk to the gang. They tell them that they're taking Shuggy to the babysitter's house. And they ask them if they want to come with.
And Fred does not want to.
Yeah, he does not have the attitude like he wants to. And he's like, do we have enough time? He's not asking that like he wants to make sure they have enough time. He's asking like, do we really have enough time for this?
Velma,
like,
can you lie? Can we not go?
Can we somehow lie to Shaggy so that we can get in the movie theater?
And so Velma pulls out a pocket watch.
It's the size of her head.
It's the size of her, yes.
It's huge. And she's like, we have approximately 22.8 minutes until the beginning of the movie. And I'm like, okay.
Thanks
fine.
for that.
So they decide to go to the babysitter's house with Shaggy, Sugie, and Scooby. Wow, that was like a lot of names that start with S. And after they leave, the Boogity Bones statue that's outside the theater starts moving. And it turns out it's actually the real monster. he has like 2 green heads that look kind of like Frankenstein a little bit, and then like a white skullish head, and then he also has a 4th head that's his foot, like the face is peeking out of his shoe. Weird. I love it. It's bizarre, but I love it.
It's just smiling the whole time. Well, we learn that somebody is inside the costume,
which at first made me think, like, why are you standing outside the movie theater?
Well, okay, so my thought was, I'm assuming the costume or the whatever was out there for promotion.
Yes.
So then Molly hopped in the costume.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming the gang probably just caught her stealing it.
Well, they didn't catch her. They didn't see it.
Well, no, but she was walking out, and then the gang, or, probably all the kids lined up to see the movie.
Timing.
Yeah, and so she was like, oh, shit, and she froze, which, like, kudos to her, because I could not sit still for that long.
Well, yeah, my only qualm with that is that it's not usually a costume that's on display. Like, it's usually like a cardboard display, like a cardboard cutout.
Well,
they have tons of those at Great Lakes Crossing.
But this time it was a costume.
Okay.
Movie magic.
Well, they get to the babysitter's house. The door opens on its own because Scooby-Doo. And they go in because the babysitter's like, oh, come on in. I'll be down in a second.
And she sounds so nice.
She does. She sounds really nice. So Shaggy gets Sugie all situated, and, she's in her little crib, and he pulls out the baby bag. And the baby bag has the same magical abilities as Flim Flam's pockets.
And the mystery machine.
And the mystery machine. It contains anything and everything you could possibly need because Shaggy and his family are wizards.
And any supernatural witchy thing that we've ever seen, including a bag, it's mainly like connected to another room. So I kind of assumed that, like, Halloween Town. Did you ever watch those?
I remember Halloween Town.
So when the grandma moved to Earth,
yeah,
and she had her bag that was connected to the house, and so she could put her hand in, and like anything that was inside her house would be in the bag.
Okay.
And so I assume that's probably how that bag is set up. Like maybe it's connected to the house.
I don't think so.
Or maybe they just flat out packed it.
No, because I don't think the mystery machine works that way.
No,
and
that's true.
And I don't imagine Flim Flam's pockets work that way either.
His pockets are connected to the cart.
And the cart that was in the middle of the village.
And like just a hand pops out from the cart, grabs the thing, and goes back down.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about last week's episode, To All the Ghouls I've Loved Before from the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. But back to this episode, I'm very confident that this bag, it's not necessarily that it just is connected to a room or anything like that. I think the magic of these bags or these containers, like the van, it's just everything that you can possibly need can fit inside it. Like, there's no bounds to the space on the inside.
You just pack it up and it's good.
Because cartoon logic, So, in Flim Flam's case, the reason why he has magic pockets is because he's good friends with Vincent Van Ghoul.
Yep.
But in Shaggy's case, I'm just pretty confident Shaggy's family are just all wizards.
I mean, it's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Only thing that makes sense. Yeah.
And this only emphasizes the fact that the mystery machine must be Shaggy's.
Oh, when we were talking about how Shaggy found it.
Yeah.
He found it in the junkyard, and he's like, this might be a good van for me and the gang, but I got to make sure that it has all the essentials. So he set an enchantment on it, and now they can put whatever they need inside.
Exactly.
It's kind of like the Room of Requirement from Harry Potter.
There you go.
Oh, my God.
I'm telling you.
This is getting deep.
I'm so smart. I feel like we really unlocked something.
The theories of that Groovy Scoobcast. So the babysitter finally appears, and she's very nice right off the bat. She's like, hey, kids, I'm the babysitter. And she shows up right when Shaggy and Scooby are making these, like, scary, funny faces for Sugie because she's upset that they're going to leave. And the babysitter was caught off guard by it. She screamed about it. And right when she screamed, like a flash of lightning appeared. And because of her hairdo, it made it look like she was like the bride of Frankenstein.
Yes.
So then the gang were frightened. And right after, the gang all freak out, that's when the babysitter just jumps to, give me that baby.
Which, like, you're an adult, and that's just a wonderful way to handle it.
It is terrible. She, like, goes to snatch her.
I can confirm as a babysitter that that's how I take all of my kids from their parents.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Give me that baby.
She chases him out of the house. The gang has Sugie still.
They forgot the teddy bear.
Yes, so Sugie was upset because they forgot Bun Bun, which is her favorite teddy bear. They're running around the neighborhood, and they manage to get back into the house before the babysitter, and then they lock the door on her. And then she says, "Ooh, I'll get that baby if it's the last thing I do." All menacingly, like, what? Why are you jumping to this level of...
Crazy?
Crazy. Like... in the end, we find out, she's actually just the babysitter. She's not a villain or anything.
Well, and she's known as the best babysitter in town. But, if you have that as you're the best babysitter in town, you need to be better in a crisis, man.
That just must be why the parents hire her, because she's super protective, and that's her brand.
That's terrifying.
She's got to protect that.
It's terrifying.
It's a reputation that she can't let these kids ruin by getting the baby stolen in the first few seconds.
She could have been known as the best babysitter in town if she would have gotten away with it if it weren't for those meddling kids and that stupid dog, too.
She didn't commit a crime, though. She's actually just doing the job that Mrs. Rogers hired her to do.
Just a little bit too well.
Maybe that's just, like what I'm saying, though. That's the service that Mrs. Rogers is paying for.
Okay.
She knows how crazy she is about protecting her daughter, so she entrusts her to her.
All right. That's fair.
So when the gang go back into the house, Shaggy, Scooby, and Sugie race down into the basement by accident. When they get to the basement, they discover Boogity Bones.
Oh,
Boogity
the
Bones
hole,
attacks them. And, they all freak out. They run back upstairs, and the rest of the gang is like, "What's wrong?" And Scooby, demonstrates. So he transforms into a 3-headed dog because cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
So the gang is like, "What?"
It's because he's a wizard.
Shaggy's magic. That's why he talks.
Oh my god!
Oh my... No, that's not right. No, Mystery Incorporated confirmed why he talks.
Not the same timeline.
Okay, I'll buy it. That's fine. Yep. Okay. In this continuity...
Not the same sibling.
In this continuity, Scooby is able to talk because Shaggy's a wizard.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway. When they came back out of the basement, though, that's when Scooby and Shaggy reach into the baby bag and they pull out a soda machine, an anchor, and a boulder. Shaggy says that it's Shugie's favorite boulder.
Implying that they have more than one boulder.
They use all of these to block the door, which opens the other way, by the way.
Yeah, by the way.
Small observation we made during the episode.
And they never once mess up on the way the door opens. So it
opens that way.
It opens into the basement, not into the living room. So it opens into the basement, but they keep stacking stuff in as if that's going to help at all.
Right. So Daphne's like, "What are you talking about? There's no such thing as zombies or whatever," because that's what Shaggy and Scooby know how to describe it as.
Yeah. So
she goes down into the basement, and this is a common sound effect that A Pup Named Scooby-Doo has from the episodes that I remember, is this blood-curdling scream.
It's actually terrifying.
That Daphne screams. It's awful. It sounds like she's actually just being murdered in the basement. It's crazy. So I'm like, oh my god. This is the first time I've heard this in 10 years. I'm freaking out. What happened to Daphne? Whoa, this show is a lot darker than I remember.
Right.
So they all race down to the basement, understandably so, because she sounds like she's being murdered.
But it's okay. She just lost a button.
Evidently, this is a common occurrence, these overdramatic reactions to any messing up of her appearance, because the rest of the gang was like, "Oh," and they all look annoyed.
Well, and I mean, this is... I don't want to say the first season that we're seeing it, but this is the most obvious that it's been, where she's very much into how she looks and
mm-hmm.
she comes from that kind of side of the family where, mm-hmm. So anything, she even stops running to fix her hair at one point.
Later on, yeah.
So I mean, it's more apparent now in this series.
I guess she just matures a lot later on. Well, not necessarily, because she complains about when her hair gets wet sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just something
that's just Daphne's character.
Evidently. Right after that, Velma discovers that there's broken glass further down in the basement. She says Jinkies.
And the response we get is, "Velma said Jinkies. It must be a clue."
Right. Everyone's like, "Ooh, what?" I'm like, Jinkies doesn't indicate that she found a clue necessarily. She says Jinkies when she gets scared.
That's true. But it also is funny because we haven't really... they're saying it as if we don't know. That's what it means.
We got to remember, though, too, Shannon, is that for a very long time, Velma wasn't in Scooby-Doo.
No, but this is we're not watching the first episode. Like, I'm sure that she said Jinkies.
Oh, right. This is the 6th episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just looking at it as Velma has been out of the cartoon on a regular basis for a long time. Mm-hmm. She hasn't been in the show on a regular basis since the first Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo show. Like, she wasn't in it during the 3-episode trio that we watched. She wasn't in it during the double episode that we watched a couple weeks ago. She wasn't in the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. Like, she's been gone for a super long time. So there's probably kids that are growing up and watching this show, and this is their first introduction to Scooby-Doo, and they don't know who Velma is.
That's really depressing. Like, hi, I'm Velma. I've been here since day one, but you don't know me.
Same with Fred, though, too.
Yeah.
I mean, they've appeared in a couple episodes, like, as specials, which I think
But they're not well known.
They were, like, later during the period of time before the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. But again, like, those were special episodes. Those weren't regular appearances. Like, for all the kids knew, those are just throwaway characters that are on the side, you know?
Isn't that so sad?
It is a little bit, yeah. Anyway, broken glass on the floor. And guess who's crawling on the floor? Shaggy. Made me instantly mad when I was watching this baby crawling on the floor near broken glass.
They let Shaggy just run around this random person's house.
Like, you don't know constantly. What's in this house.
Yeah.
For all you know, well, as far as they know, she's a villain. She is potentially working together with Boogity Bones, which later on they do think is the case. But it's fine. Just let her crawl around the house freely, like she's in her own home. She shouldn't be doing that in her own home either, but
No.
Whatever.
So then Fred insists that it must be the red herring. Because if you guys didn't watch this as a kid, everything bad that happens is the red herring's fault.
Well, his name is Red Herring.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, if you haven't watched Pup Named Scooby-Doo, Red Herring is just this, like, bully type character that doesn't really like the gang, and the gang doesn't really like him either.
And Fred blames everything on him.
Like, imagine your stereotypical cartoon bully, and it's Red Herring. Like, they look exactly the same.
Yeah.
You would see a picture of him and be like, yeah, that's what I was thinking of, because he looked exactly like what you're thinking. So they get a call from this phone that's hanging on the wall in the basement, and it's Red Herring. And he's calling to tell Fred that he's out of the country right now on vacation. There's no way that he's involved with whatever he's accusing him of doing.
So Red Herring is psychic.
Because evidently he knows the phone number of the babysitter's basement.
He knows the phone number for the babysitter, first off. Knew that they'd be at the babysitter. Knew the perfect time to call. Like, in what way do you call your neighbor? Like, when would you, as a child, call your bully to be like, hey, just an FYI, I'm out of the country this week, so, like, you can't bully me.
He's a wizard, too.
Yeah.
Something I noticed about that, when Red Herring was talking to Fred, they showed text underneath Red Herring saying, like, suspect 1.
Yeah.
It broke away when he,
said he was out of the country.
Said that he was out of the country. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cute, I guess. It kind of makes me think of, like, Dora the Explorer in a way, honestly. So, they let that go. Now, did Boogity Bones appear to them while they were already down there again? I think he did. I think he appeared one more time.
I think so, because that's how they all get back upstairs.
Yeah, so they panic, they run back upstairs, and they shut the door. And something that I noted was that when they were, resetting the soda machine and the anchor, they used a different boulder to block the door.
Well, that's because they decided that they shouldn't hurt Shuggy's favorite boulder. And I told you, they
must have more than one boulder.
It's implying that they have more than, that's her favorite boulder.
Well, that's visual proof.
There's other options.
That's visual proof there is more than one boulder.
And they packed 2 boulders just in case.
At least.
Yeah.
So that's when they're in the living room, they're by the TV, and Shaggy turns on the TV.
While he's talking.
And it's the news. And then the news anchor, the first thing that comes out of his mouth, we interrupt Shaggy to bring you a Coolsville news bulletin. So I've got 2 notes on this TV scene, personally. 1, what is going on with TV in this universe? Like, it's like a phone. Like, you can talk to the people in the TV. It's like Skype before its time.
There you go.
2, this confirms that they're in Coolsville now. I'm very confident that never before a Pup Named Scooby-Doo the name of their city was like never actually established. So they've never really said the official name of the town.
Oh, okay.
The closest that they've gotten was that county museum in the first episode of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?
Oh, yeah.
How they live in county.
Just the county. We don't know what county it is, but I noted that Velma then plugs her computer into the TV.
Oh, well, wait, you gotta backtrack though. So the news anchor is explaining that Manny the Mauler has just escaped jail. He was convicted of bank robbery, burglary, and backwards driving.
Yes.
And puppy nabbing. He doesn't let you forget that because the photo that the news anchor is holding of Manny the Mauler
then turns into
Manny the Mauler. Like, it's actually like a TV kind of as well.
Yeah.
And he talks as well. He's like, don't forget puppy napping. And I'm just like, okay, like this is like 3 levels of broken reality. It's going to go on to a 4th level in a second. But then I also noted too, you know how I said Red Herring had the suspect 1?
Yeah.
On the paper that the news anchor was holding, it said suspect 2.
For Molly.
No, for Manny.
Oh,
it said it for Manny. There was nothing that said anything about Molly being like a 3rd suspect.
Okay.
It stopped at Manny.
Huh.
Weird how they did that, and it didn't follow through to the end of the episode. And as far as I know, I don't think that appears in other episodes either.
No.
But anyway, then he shows an image of Molly the Mall, who was never caught.
And so Velma then plugs her computer into the TV and photoshops this picture of Molly into the babysitter because they're thoroughly
they
convinced
look alike.
that, they look nothing alike. Like, they plump her up and everything. The only thing I could think of was there's those Photoshop videos that are going around where they turn, like, a piece of pizza into Justin Bieber. Have you seen those?
Not really.
Okay. You guys have to go.
I have a vague idea of what you're talking about.
They're super weird, but yeah. Or, like, they turn a taco into another celebrity.
Okay.
Just to prove that, like, you can Photoshop literally anything into anything with some talent.
Okay.
So Velma photoshops this picture of this thin, decent-looking girl named Molly into this plump 40-year-old best babysitter.
Yeah.
Turns out to be for nothing.
Yeah, because that's actually not the case. So I've got 2 comments about that, though. 1, Velma keeps her computer in a briefcase. Adorable.
Who gave her that briefcase?
Shaggy.
Yep.
Wizardry. But then, Velma sticks to that idea that, they're the same person. Turns out that she's wrong. And at the end of the episode, she pretends that she knew all along that they weren't the same people, unlike Velma.
You can't be right all the time, honey. You're young. It's okay.
Right. And then the news anchor explains that Manny and Molly used to live in this house. Like, he doesn't like say, like, this address or in this neighborhood or the babysitter's house. He says this house, like he's talking to the gang.
Well, and his arm points out of the TV and points into the house.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember what they say.
I think they are all just like, what? And then they hear knocking on the front door, and I think it's Manny.
Oh, yeah, and I think they go, oh my gosh, maybe that's Manny.
Yeah.
And the TV guy goes, and I don't want to be around when it is him, and leans over and turns off the TV and slides his arm back into the TV as it goes dark.
I was so angry watching all of that.
It was a scene.
Again, I know that this cartoon specifically is supposed to be, like, absurdist and off-the-wall cartoony, but that was just a lot of just broken reality. It's because of Shaggy, because Shaggy turned on the TV.
Yes.
He's a freaking wizard.
He is not a mudblood. I will tell you that. He might be a Weasley.
Anyway, so Manny the Mauler is at the front door. He wants to get inside because the news anchor explained that before Manny was arrested, he and Molly hid their stolen loot inside the house. So evidently they've come back to the house in order to get the loot. Mm-hmm. Manny keeps saying, like, I want my loot. And the gang is like freaking out, like, oh no, because then the babysitter is knocking on the window and she's like, I want that baby. And then Boogity
It's really
Bones,
traumatizing.
It is, because then Boogity Bones is knocking on the basement door going, I want out. I'm like, wow, this is actually kind of, like, dramatic.
Like, I'd be scared.
I liked the writing in this, honestly. Fred wants to attribute the zombie to the National Exaggerator.
Yep.
I'm assuming it's just this world's version of the National Examiner.
I think so.
Velma wants to call the police. So she goes to call the police. She picks up the phone, and I think it was Manny who cuts the phone line. This is like a horror movie now.
That's like a real criminal move.
That can actually happen. And in the 80s, early 90s, like that's a threat to these kids. They don't have cell phones.
No, yeah.
That's really scary. So then shortly after that happens, lightning flashes, and then the house's power goes out. So, like, they're in the dark. They have no way to call the police. And they've got 3 scary figures from, like, all around knocking and wanting to terrorize them.
So, my 2 comments here is we hear Shaggy yell, "Scooby-Doo, where are you?"
Yeah.
Like that nice famous line. We don't get a response. We just hear, "I'm afraid of the dark." I'm like, okay. But that doesn't help us. Like, where are you? Let me help you. And secondly, Molly is Boogity Bones.
Yes.
Later on, we find out that the loot is downstairs.
Right.
Which is where Molly is. Why does she want out? She needs to find the loot. Like, I would have kept my mouth shut and just kept digging.
Right. Yeah, because then you could have just gotten the loot and then gone out that window that you broke into.
Yeah.
And furthermore, why isn't Manny, like, looking around the house like a real burglar
Like, why
and breaking into the
right,
house
why
like Molly did?
Why isn't he trying harder?
He could have tried harder.
He's not a real criminal.
No, how did he get arrested?
He's just because he's not a good criminal.
After the lights go out, Shaggy hands a flashlight to Scooby because he's scared of the dark.
Yep.
And Shaggy asks him how he's feeling now, and he said that he's feeling lightheaded. And Shaggy's like, I get it, lightheaded. You're funny, Scooby. And this is a common joke, I think, in A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, where Scooby doesn't get jokes.
Because he's a dog and he's kind of dumb.
He responds, he's like, I don't get it.
Sorry.
It's okay, Scooby. I don't get a lot of these jokes either.
I'm a grown adult. I don't understand.
So Velma hops on her computer and she generates like a plan in order to get them out of this situation. Something I noted, she drew up the plans for the trap. She printed it off and gave it to Freddy to build. Like, it wasn't Freddy's idea.
No, he's not the brains this time.
He left his brains in San Francisco a long time ago.
Along with Shaggy's neck.
Yeah. Velma needs Daphne's diamond barrette for the trap.
Which she normally does not give away perfectly good accessories to a perfectly good outfit. But for Velma, she'll do it.
She'll do it. She's fine.
I'm like, bitch, to get out to save your life? Like, shut up.
What do you need it for? And Velma's like, I'll explain later. Because that's what they do. They don't explain things to
We never get answers.
Shaggy asks Scooby to guard Sugie. And then Scooby whispers to Shaggy embarrassingly, but who's going to guard me?
He's like, oh, Scooby.
And it's like, no, he's actually concerned about his own safety.
Scooby's like, but wait, I'm a dog?
I'm a puppy.
Yeah.
Not even a dog. I'm a puppy.
He's like, I'm a child too.
A few moments later, Velma, Shaggy, Scooby, and Sugie, they're in the kitchen. And Velma's constructing this, like, flashlight, laser, I don't know how to describe it.
I don't know, but it's cool, and I want one.
Anyway, she needs this jar that's on the counter, this glass mason jar, emptied out.
We don't know what's in it.
This jar has some kind of, like, mayo-looking substance in it. It's never explained that it's actually food, but Velma's like, I need it emptied out, so Scooby just licks it clean.
Like a dog.
Yeah. Again, it's not explained what it is. What if it's bleach?
He's a dog. So then they're talking about the gadget that she just built.
Yes.
And I think it was Fred was questioning it. And Daphne goes, well, have you ever known anything of Velma's not to work?
I don't know. She doesn't usually have to be in this situation where she needs to save the day.
And also, yes, I have. Her love life.
That's rude.
Every boyfriend she's ever had.
Well, we haven't seen her have any boyfriends yet.
She's a child.
Yeah, she's also 10.
I know.
So back to Fred's stupidity. He's like, in no way can we allow Manny to get inside the house. And then he hears the knock on the door and he's like, oh, who is it?
The pizza guy.
Pizza delivery. Oh, great. Opens the door.
Manny.
Game over. All the kids were murdered.
Episode's over. Done.
Podcast canceled for like the 100th time.
Wouldn't he remember ordering a pizza? Wouldn't he not order a pizza to the babysitter's house that they thought they were just going to stop by?
To be fair to Fred, though, two of his best friends eat constantly. I wouldn't put it past Fred for just thinking that Scooby and Shaggy just ordered a pizza at some point. Anyway, Velma, Scooby, and Shaggy realize that Shuggy's now missing because Scooby did a terrible job watching the baby.
That's what happens when you put a dog in charge of a baby.
So all five of them start racing around the house trying to find her. They go upstairs and they were looking out the window. You know, they see the babysitter running off. And when the gang turns around from the window, Manny is in the room. So they all panic. They run outside the house. And this kickstarts this chase scene with a song, which I want to talk about at the end of the episode.
I love that song.
I do too, but like I said, I want to save it for the end. While Fred, Daphne, Shaggy, and Scooby are running away from Manny, and later on, Boogity Bones and the babysitter, you know, they're all just racing around the entire house. Velma's trying to shine her, I'm just gonna call it the bat signal.
Oh, yeah.
She's shining her little bat signal into the sky. She's trying to get a hold of the police because the phone lines are dead.
But at this point, they're all outside, and couldn't she just run to a neighbor's house?
I was just about to say that.
Okay.
Literally just about to say, just go to their neighbor's house. So she's trying to shine the light into the sky, and she gets distracted by everything that's going on. They end up running up the stairs into the house. The gang managed to get the baby back from the babysitter. Off screen, by the way. Scooby just kind of comes out of nowhere
back.
holding the baby.
Very calmly walking, by the way.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what he did, but he's not worried about the babysitter anymore.
Nope.
So they run back into the house, and all three of the quote-unquote villains of this episode are chasing them still. And at this point, they're in the attic, and the only two that are now banging on the door of the attic is Boogity Bones and Manny. So Velma goes to the attic window and shines the bat signal again. Meanwhile, at the policeman's ball, Mr. and Mrs. Rogers are dancing. They're having a good time. And this cloud, just this one inconspicuous cloud in the sky, covers the moon. This single cloud. For one, I thought it was thunderstorming. Like, isn't it lightning outside now?
It was just a little odd that, like, they were like, oh, it's so pretty outside. Insert cloud
Insert
here.
cloud. And that's the cloud Velma shines the bat signal onto.
They're also the only police officer to notice.
Yeah, because none of the other, they're all too busy dancing.
Yeah, rude.
The first set of the signal says SOS. Okay, straightforward. Shaggy's dad points out that it's an SOS signal coming from the babysitter's neighborhood. Don't know how you were able to indicate that, but okay.
I'm down for it.
Fine. Then it transitions to another set of text that says, like help pop, to which Mrs. Rogers responds, a cool cat must be in trouble. And then it says, relp. They were like, oh, it must be Scooby and Shaggy. This indicates two things to me. One, I'm very confident that Scooby still thinks that the word is relp, not help.
Yeah.
I said that in the episode E-I-E-I-O when he spells out relp in the field on the tractor. I think he genuinely thinks the word is relp.
Yeah, I don't think that's like an accidental thing.
I don't think that's his speech impediment. Like, I think he genuinely thinks it's relp.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I like that the Rogers understand that that's Scooby's dialect.
Well, and because they've played around with other people not being able to understand Scooby
Yes.
or, you know, whatever. So I'm glad that, like, the Rogers also understand dog.
So, back at the babysitter's house, they decide that they're going to try and get out of the attic by opening the door and dropping Shuggy's string collection. It's a giant ball of string.
Which I want for my birthday.
You're not getting that. If the audience wants to send it to Shannon, her birthday is January 14th.
I'm down for it.
They throw the ball of string down the ladder to the attic, and it catches Manny and Boogity Bones, and they roll all throughout the house. And they're like, yay! And then the babysitter pops up into the attic, and she's like, yeah, I've got her, and grabs Shuggy and takes her. And I'm like, oh my God, lady, can you please just reason with these kids? They just got terrorized by these two a zombie, for one, and this man you don't know in your own home.
And wouldn't you be a little concerned with that?
Yeah, like, these two people are trying to break into your own home and are furthermore endangering the kids and the baby.
That you were hired to protect.
Like, you know, maybe she just has a policy where she doesn't protect kids that she's not paid to watch.
That's a fair policy.
That may be the policy, but I don't know. It's just...
Like, that's going to be extra. I saved your kid tonight.
Yeah, she's charging the Rogers a lot of money tonight. The only ones who I think can really afford it is the Blake family.
Yeah.
So the babysitter attempts to run out of the house, and that's when Shaggy's parents show up. And they're like, what is going on? They all go into the basement now, which we noticed during the chase scene there were tons of holes, like all throughout the basement. So at some point, Boogity Bones was digging, like we suggested that he do earlier. That's when Velma says that the babysitter actually is the babysitter. Again, Velma, you lied to us.
Right, as if she knew this the whole time.
Like, are you serious? You just misled the kids that are watching this episode.
You're a liar.
Right. Meanwhile, they unmask Boogity Bones. Turns out it's Molly the Mall, which was the never caught accomplice. Was she Manny's wife or girlfriend?
I figured they were dating.
Okay. I wasn't really clear on that.
There was like a little bit of loyalty, but not a lot.
Okay. I'm pretty sure they were in a relationship at least. They were living together.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to add in that Molly had to go out and steal a scary costume to scare away people from a house that was essentially going to be empty, besides like a babysitter and a baby.
Yeah. What was the point of being Boogity Bones?
I mean,
of anything.
No, I don't understand that, because you would have gotten so much more done if you had just showed up to the house in the first place and just started looking for the loot. And I mean, honestly, she was relatively quiet down there digging, besides when she started like freaking out and like trying to get out. So I mean, had she literally just sat down there and dug all night, she would have found it.
She must have evidently been in the house already by the time like the babysitter was chasing the gang outside in the first place.
Yeah.
Or maybe it happened like while they were already outside. Like, she was down there. And then that's when, you know, when Shaggy and Scooby accidentally stumble upon her in the beginning of the episode. I don't really get the point of the costume, aside from, you know, it's scary. But, you know, because Daphne says that, you know, it's a perfect costume to scare people. But why do you need to scare people? Like, just be quick.
Right.
Just be quick, find the loot, and get out of the house. You're not here to hurt anybody.
No, you just wanted the loot. Manny's the freak.
Yeah, you want to get in here, get the loot before Manny shows up, and take off.
Which you could have done if you hadn't have wasted your time trying to find a costume. So then I have the fact that Molly goes, I'm not going to tell you where the loot's hidden. As if she hasn't been downstairs digging all night and still doesn't know where the loot is.
Because you evidently don't know.
Like, you've been digging all night and you're about to tell me you're not going to tell me where it is. Like, bitch, if you knew, you'd already have it and be gone.
Right. After they make this comment, Shaggy has Scooby search the basement to try and find the loot. He finds it in no time because Scooby's nose is supposed to be better than a metal detector.
Yeah.
So he finds it real quick.
He digs through concrete, first off.
Which evidently Molly's been doing, though, throughout this entire episode.
I guess. But then,
that was an issue I had, too. Like, I agree with you. It's crazy.
But then it's also, the loot is not buried very far under the concrete.
It took no effort for him to dig it up.
Like, his second paw in, loot started flying out.
It's right under the tile.
Yeah.
Like, it's not under dirt or anything like that. Like, you lift the tile of the floor and there's the loot.
Like, it was not hidden very well.
Basically. Something I thought was really funny, I screenshotted it, I will be sharing it on the Twitter, is when the money's out on the floor and everything, and they're like, yay, we found it! Which, like, why are you so happy? You don't get to keep it. But Sugie thinks she gets to because she hops on top of the pile and she's like, yay! Like, specifically, she's on top of the pile like she owns it.
That's me.
That's Shugie's college fund.
Yeah.
And the episode basically finishes with the gang now being able to go to the movie theater, and Shaggy goes to pay for his ticket and he realizes that his money's been taken, and it turns out Scooby has taken money so that he can go see a different movie. He doesn't want to go see Boogity Bones the movie with the rest of the gang. He goes and buys a ticket to Picnic in Candyland with the Bunny Bunch.
I'm down to see it.
I bet it's a hell of a time.
So, after the episode ended, one of the very first comments I said to you was, so are they just going to pretend that they had enough time to still make it to the movie theater after?
Yeah. And that's when I kind of poked that bubble real quick.
In the beginning, when Fred says, are you sure we have enough time for this?
Yeah, but before they leave the movie theater.
Yeah. And Velma goes, well, we have exactly 22.8 minutes. And it said when there's still 18 minutes left.
Of the episode, yeah.
So they do.
Yeah, they have a lot of time left.
They, in fact, have enough time, to even travel time back to the movie theater. Mm-hmm. Get a ticket and go see the movie.
Yep. They did it all just in time.
They bamboozled me.
Does that really,
I was
catch
bamboozled.
you so off guard?
I was not expecting it, because it's just something it was something so slyly put in there, because so much happened that night. And I was like, are they really going to pretend that all of that happened in, 10 minutes?
But there's no, cutaways or, evident passing of time,
Yeah, I mean, it all happens in, one take. Mm-hmm. I was bamboozled.
I got a few miscellaneous notes that I forgot to mention throughout the episode. The trap that Fred and Daphne built together under Velma's instructions, it's like a catapult that launches Manny to a foreign country. Oh. And that happens to be the country where Red Herring is vacationing. And he's suntanning in the middle of the night. The moon is out, and he's out, trying to tan.
He's moon tanning.
He's moon tanning.
Us pale people have to do that. We burn under the sun.
But the country can't be that far away because he hops in a boat, and he's back in seconds.
I mean, moments.
Cartoon logic.
Yeah.
The other thing that I forgot to mention, during the chase scene, the gang is running away from Manny and the babysitter. Boogity Bones comes into the mix because, he's still trapped in the basement. He's trapped behind the soda machine, the anchor, and the second boulder. He's trying to get out. So he gives up on banging on the door. He goes to the window.
You can say she because we know it's Molly.
You're right. I'm misgendering.
Did you just assume their gender?
So Boogity Bones climbs out the window of the basement that he broke into, that she broke into. She goes around the house. She goes back into the front door, goes to the basement door, moves the soda machine, the anchor, and the boulder, goes back outside, back into the basement window, up the basement stairs, and opens the basement door.
Molly's an idiot.
So what did you rate this episode on the Scooby Snack-O-Meter?
So I'm going to be honest. I did like the episode, but we decided to take the goggles off.
Yes, the nostalgic goggles. Yeah, we had to take them off.
I was going to rate this a 6. Because they bamboozled me, they get a 7.
Just because of that time thing?
You bamboozled me. I was shocked.
It's not based on the episode's merit or anything like that. It's just based on the fact that they had enough time
I was bamboozled.
to go back to the movie theater.
I mean, I think that was a really good, little clicky thing. I was bamboozled. You get an extra point.
So justify the initial 6.
So I liked it. It was definitely not my favorite episode. I think there were a lot of just dumb shit happening. But it's Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. I think you just have to remember that this version of Scooby-Doo is supposed to be absurd.
Well, and also I think it was I think that this series was kind of trying to get a whole new group of kids to watch it. Mm-hmm. It was definitely directed towards a younger crowd. I'm definitely not necessarily that younger crowd.
Right. You have to look at it from the context of, is this a good thing to show to kids? Is this going to entertain them still?
7-year-old me probably would have loved it.
And I'm sure, yeah.
23-year-old me, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments to justify that?
I've had more favorite episodes.
Okay. Well, I actually gave it a 6 myself.
Okay.
I really enjoyed this episode personally, despite all of the crazy things that were going on. I thought it was really clever how... Okay, I don't want to say clever because Velma lied to us. But I thought it was clever how, for a long time, they do set up the babysitter to be a villain.
Yeah.
Like, you know, she doesn't turn out to be a villain, but throughout the entire episode, she's an antagonistic force to the gang. She's even in the title of the episode.
Like, you think the whole episode's going to be about her.
Right. But it turns out, no, she's actually not a villain. The villain is nicely designed, in my opinion.
Manny, on the other hand, kind of looks like the human version of what you would imagine a bulldog to look like.
Kind of, yeah. But the fact that, like, they have that misdirect of the babysitter being the villain based on the hints that Velma slyly gives us, the title of the episode, the way she's acting, and it just turns out she's not actually the villain, it's a nice mystery, kind of. You know, because they very slyly mention that Molly was never caught in the news report. So when Velma does that whole photoshopping thing and makes her look like the babysitter, like, the kids that are probably watching this episode are tricked by that.
Yeah.
And then it just makes you wonder, you know, who's Boogity Bones? And when it turns out it's not Manny, because Manny is not in a costume, you know, he's banging on the door himself trying to get the loot. It's really making you wonder who this monster is.
Well, and my thought was, okay, the babysitter from Beyond. So I was thinking, like, okay, so if Molly is the babysitter and Manny's not in a costume, then, like, Boogity Bones has to be a real zombie.
Which you could think because of all the holes in the basement.
Yep.
He's maybe crawling out, because you see that in the commercial at the beginning of the episode when they are watching the commercial for the movie. He's coming out of the grave. That's something I didn't really even put together until just now, rationalizing my rating. But yeah, I thought it was a very enjoyable episode for what it is. I have to remember, despite all my jokes and odd questions about the bizarre things that are happening in this episode, like the world-breaking TVs, like, it's supposed to be weird. It's supposed to be off the wall. And you can't fault it for wanting to be what it is on its own. Like, if the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo was trying to be a dark TV show and it was pulling shit like this, I wouldn't appreciate it as much. Like, I would not have given that episode as high a rating. So I can't fault this episode for those same things because it's not the same series. I also really liked the chase scene music. That's something that's really nice with A Pup Named Scooby-Doo because it really begins the trend of the music actually having to do with either the mystery or the monster, which I thought was really cool. And it was a pretty cool song, too. So I'm hoping that future Pup Named Scooby-Doo episodes that we watch continue that
I
cool
hope
trend. So yeah, I gave it a 6.
Alrighty. So this week, the average rating for A Babysitter from Beyond is going to be 6.5.
So we're going to move on to our fun fact of the week. I think that you're actually going to like this fun fact, Shannon.
I'm excited.
So I'm reading this from the special book that came out last year. It's called Hanna-Barbera, The Architects of Saturday Morning. This book was released at the Norman Rockwell Museum. They were having like a whole exhibit about Hanna-Barbera cartoons, including Scooby-Doo. You'll find it on pages 68 and 69. You can find this on Wikipedia too, but I just wanted to have an official source because we're an official podcast.
Yes.
Did you know that none of the gang's names were their original names? Like, they had different names before the ones they have now.
I feel like I heard that before, but I don't know much about it.
It's interesting because there was actually a 6th member as well.
I didn't know that.
Which was not Scrappy. No, it was actually a person. So in the original lineup of the gang, Fred was actually 2 different people. There was 2 people that eventually combined to make Fred. There was Jeff Jones and Mike Andrews.
Okay.
He got reworked to be named Fred. I think it's because the CBS producer who was trying to get the series launched was named Fred Silverman, and they just named him after that, probably.
How sweet.
Daphne's original name was Kelly Summers. It's cute. I like it.
I mean, she could be a Kelly Summers.
I can see her being a Kelly. That's a
fucking Kelly.
Fucking Kelly. Hashtag fucking Kelly. Velma's original name was Linda Blake, which Blake eventually turned out to be Daphne's last name.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then Shaggy's original name was W.W. Blake. He was actually Linda Blake's brother. So originally, Shaggy and Velma were going to be brother and sister.
And instead, they made them lovers.
In Mr. Incorporated, yeah. And then Scooby's original name was Too Much. And he wasn't going to be a Great Dane. He was actually going to be like a Shaggy dog, kind of like Hot Dog from the Archies.
Yeah.
The original idea was that they were afraid him being a Great Dane would look like they were trying to rip off Marmaduke, the comic. but they decided to go with the Great Dane look anyway because they thought that it just fit the character, especially when they reworked the series to be more focused on mystery and a little bit more comedy. So the characters eventually got reworked. Jeff Jones and Mike Andrews combined to become Fred. Kelly became Daphne. Linda became Velma. WW became Shaggy. And Too Much became Scooby-Doo.
Huh.
Fun facts.
Fun fact.
So I'm surprised I didn't mention this last week. I don't know why I didn't. So you know how we were talking about how the United States Postal Service stamps were coming out on the 14th?
Yeah.
I haven't gotten mine yet. I need to go get them.
We have to go get them.
Yeah. But anyway, another thing that came out on the 14th was the Do Good campaign Box Lunch Orange Scooby-Doo Pop Funkos.
Oh.
I think I showed you mine before we started recording tonight. So Box Lunch is a gift shop. It's kind of like a Spencer's or a Hot Topic. It's actually a sub-company of Hot Topic. They sell all sorts of cool memorabilia and pop culture merchandise. And some of their profits goes towards nonprofit organizations, including Feeding America, which is really awesome, actually. And they teamed up with this new campaign that Warner Brothers is doing called Do Good, which is encouraging youth to go out into the community and do like community service projects, recycle, do good for the environment. And Scooby-Doo is basically the spokesperson, I guess, of the campaign, which is really cool. You can learn more about that at ScoobyDooGood.com. But Warner Brothers and Box Lunch teamed up to produce a Pop Funko exclusive that's Scooby-Doo in the color orange.
Which is funny because he's not really that orange.
Yeah, he's kind of like a lighter, saturated brown.
He's more of like the actual color of Scooby-Doo.
A little bit.
Than the other Pop
Like the
Funkos.
original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really like him. He's cute.
I love him. I was very happy, though. I think I told you this. So the morning that they released them, I woke up. I was just sleeping in that day because I didn't have to work. So I looked online just to see, if they were released online yet. They were sold out. Already sold out on the first day. So I'm like, oh no. So I'm like, I should probably just go out there. The closest Box Lunch is 45 minutes away from my house. So it was a bit of a drive. But I got there. I got there at 11 o'clock, which was an hour after they opened. They had 2 left in their store.
That's crazy.
They sold out in the first hour.
I'm going to tell you, you Scooby fans are crazy.
Yeah. I was just so surprised. I'm like, wait, those are the only 2 left? And they're like, yeah, are you wanting to buy both? I'm like, thinking back, I'm like, yeah, I should have bought both, but I just bought one. I'm just like, someone else is really wanting this Funko.
We could have given that away as a gift.
Maybe down the road when they're not being upcharged on eBay.
Yeah.
Because they're only $15. I went on eBay and they're being sold for like $50. Insane. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely insane.
Well, and it's because, a lot of people go out and they'll buy all these items that are like limited edition and like, or, whatever, because they think that the profit margin is there. I mean, in some cases it is.
Well, that happened with the Scooby-Doo Pop Funkos that were released at San Diego Comic-Con last year. The blue, the magenta, and the green ones. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that's insane. But, yeah, so the orange Scooby-Doo Pop Funko came out, and if you're wanting to get one, you may have to spend a little bit of money at the moment. If you can wait, maybe the price will go down the line. But, like I said, I'm surprised I didn't mention that last week.
Yeah.
So last week we mentioned very slyly that we were going to announce our giveaway for this season. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to say all the details on how to win, but I want to set up like the first stage of the contest, I guess. It's not like a definitive factor if you win or not. I just kind of want to see what people say. So we're going to give away a Scooby-Doo stuffed animal. It's going to be silhouetted online. And I want our listeners to guess what color it is.
Oh, ho, ho.
Ooh. So you can reply to the tweet directly. I'll be probably making the tweet either the day this episode comes out or maybe the day after. So be on the look for that. If you don't see it, use the hashtag #GetGroovy. And then write your response and we'll try and find your response. Or you can just message or email us as well. You can find us on Twitter @Groovy Scoobcast or email us at thatgroovyscoopcast@gmail.com.
So we look forward to hearing from you because I'm excited for your guesses.
Yeah, and before we go, we're going to pick our next episode we'll be reviewing next week. This episode is coming from What's New, Scooby-Doo. So, Shannon, would you like to kick off the randomizer?
Alrighty. And it looks like next week's episode is going to be Gold Paw.
That is like the shortest title we've had so far.
We've had some really long, some really odd titles, and now we've got Gold Paw.
When the randomizer pulled it up, Shannon and I looked at each other like, oh. So this episode comes from the 3rd season of What's New, Scooby-Doo. The premise on Scoobypedia says, once again, the gang visits the secret 6 puppies, but come to discover that a man made of gold is haunting Fort Knox.
Oh.
So, how much did you watch What's New, Scooby-Doo as a kid, or in general?
Honestly, I don't remember. I may not have seen that much of it.
Okay.
Because I got more into, like, the movies, and then I kind of got into the Scooby-Doo Where Are Yous. Okay. But I don't know if I watched any of these.
Okay, so I'll just give you and the listeners a little bit of an idea of what this premise is really saying. Because there is slight continuity in What's New, Scooby-Doo, but it's not as extensive to the point where we need to watch the episodes chronologically. Like, it's still a very episodic style show, but every now and then they do call back to previous ones. So The Secret 6 puppies are basically 6 golden retriever puppies. They appeared in, I don't remember the name of the episode. It was an episode about a dog show.
Okay.
And their mother is like a award-winning dog show golden retriever. And she just recently had these puppies. But yeah, they're just 6 adorable little puppies that they don't talk. Like they're regular dogs. They're not like Scrappy.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they help solve the mystery, which is really cool.
I'm excited. I love puppies.
Yeah. So you guys can watch that episode on the What's New Scooby-Doo Season 3 DVD set, iTunes, or Amazon. And with that, we hope that you enjoyed that Groovy Scoobcast.
Tune in next week for a Scooby snack-filled time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.